Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. I hope you're well. For over a year, Piers has demonstrated his unwavering devotion to Israelis while still attempting to project the appearance of being the most truthful and unbiased journalist in history. He just failed in his attempts to present an objective image, and he's unaware that all of his viewers are now conscious of his hypocrisy. He recently welcomed the well-known Egyptian comedian Bassem Youssef on his show, who had previously too slammed Piers and exposed his bias through his satirical replies, while demonstrating that he would not allow Piers to get away with the lies he has been spewing for the past year. Piers Morgan began the discussion as usual with a topic of self-defense, claiming that Israel is fighting Lebanon, Iran, Gaza, the West Bank, and Syria all at the same time in order to defend itself. He inquired as to Youssef's thoughts on this, and he responded that they could argue that Israel is defending itself against France, which only imposed an arms embargo on Israel before blowing up the French oil facility in Lebanon, or that Israel is defending itself against innocent children by mercilessly executing them.
Where do you think we are with this war now? And in fact, not just the war, obviously, in Gaza, but the wider war that's raging now in Lebanon, the threats against Iran and so on, the whole thing.
I mean, Israel is defending itself, right? I mean, that's what the Western media is telling us.
They would say they are.
Yeah, and I want to buy into it. I'm trying to convince my
Can you
friends.
buy into any of their logic that they believe they are defending themselves?
Okay.
Do you believe them that they believe that?
Let's put that on the test. So if Israel is defending itself, it's defending itself against an imminent danger, like an existential threat. I don't understand if, for example, Macron would announce that he will impose an embargo in Israel's arms, and then Israel goes and bombs the French oil facilities in Lebanon. How is that defending themselves? There's like a group of American doctors who were in Gaza and came back, and they reported seeing tens of children with sniper shots in their heads and necks. How is that defending themselves? Just a couple of days ago, we saw a little kid being shot by a drone. His family came to help him, and then they were all killed. How is that defending itself? I mean, I hear it, but I just don't see it.
According to Piers, Palestinians should suffer because the actions of their government body, or the Hamas, dedicated their entire energy to fighting the occupation rather than providing for them. And therefore, as they did not get the life they deserved from the Hamas, it is absolutely fair for the IOF to inflict them with immense pain and suffering, as they are doing it right now in front of the whole world. When Bassem Youssef tried to counter Piers about what he himself meant by his own statement, he said that by punishing Palestinians, he meant the Israelis to exact and retaliate for what occurred to them 1 year ago.
I can find a lot to criticize with Netanyahu and his government, and I can find a lot to criticize with Hamas, with Hezbollah, with Iran. I can find a lot to criticize all over the place. I think that's part of the problem. Is it's just an extraordinary mess with a lot of people who've been behaving badly. Yes. In my opinion, betraying their people and making it almost impossible to come together for peace.
So basically, we punish the Palestinians for being betrayed by Hamas, and we punish the Palestinians again by letting them get slaughtered every day.
And if you want to hear more of Piers' confusion about his so-called moral quandary regarding the execution of nearly 40,000 innocent people, don't worry. He repeats it again in this interview. Not only that, Piers' bias is so evident to everyone but himself, as he claimed that he sees Israel as a form of occupation rather than a full-fledged occupation. But he didn't realize he couldn't put deceptive plays of his words in front of Bassem Youssef, who immediately criticized him about his remarks.
And I think it is morally complex. You find it morally more straightforward. I find it complicated. And I've wrestled with how I should think about this. I've gone on a bit of a journey. Now, it doesn't mean that, for example, I would find common ground with you about the way the Palestinian people have been treated for many decades. I do think it's been a form of occupation.
Form of?
Yeah.
Not an occupation, not a full-blown occupation.
As I said to Israelis when they come on, I don't know how you can argue that it's an occupation. I know you moved out in 2005, but the reality is once this war started...
They didn't move out.
Well, once they formally moved out...
You basically
you
went out of the room and you locked the room and you basically controlled the perimeter of the room.
I was about to say, after October the 8th, when they began to turn off the water supply, the food supply, the power and so on, it was quite clear they still wield power.
But that was going on since 2006.
No, I understand.
That never stopped.
So I'm agreeing with you.
You know what Dove Wise...
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, clearly that is a form of occupation, otherwise we wouldn't have the
It's
power
an
to do it.
occupation, not a form.
Yeah. I mean, look...
It's like saying it's a form of terrorism.
Bassem tried hard at one point to show Piers genuine examples of how miserable Palestinians' lives are under occupation. And what's worse is that when only a small portion of the population decides to resist, the entire population suffers the consequences of their actions on a much larger scale. He added that Israel is blowing up hospitals, universities, mosques, and churches, giving the excuse that they are only targeting Hamas. But the truth is that Israel has the ability to track down their exact location, but they're instead punishing the whole population. However, Piers obviously attempted to whitewash the deaths, misery, torture, and persecution of the entire Palestinian population in light of what transpired in Israel on October 7.
If Palestinians march, they get killed. If they throw a stone at a tank, they get killed. If they sit at home quietly, someone will come in and take their home away and they kill them. If someone just picking up olives, that they will kill him. So what would that decide? And I don't know,
But it sounds to me like what you're doing, you're constructing...
That's I'm justifying October 7th, right?
No, I'm going to put words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like you're saying, what else did you expect?
Yeah, what else did you expect? If you treat people like animals, they will behave like animals, Piers.
So you accept they behave like animals?
Yeah, some of them did, yes. Some of them did, yes.
I mean, there were 3,000 of them.
Yeah.
Entering at 13 different points.
So 13,000, 3,000?
3,000 Hamas. 13 entry
So
points.
for that, you killed 50,000 people.
Well, they killed 1,200 people. They kidnapped over 200.
No. I said Israelis, for that, they killed 50,000
Well, hang on.
people.
I'm about to give you the numbers as we now believe them.
You know what? Hamas did everything.
All right,
Hamas did all of that.
Let me ask you.
Hamas did all of that.
Should Hamas,
should
Hamas retain any power coming out of this in Gaza?
I don't know if any of them will be left.
But should they retain power in principle?
It's up to the Palestinian people to
What
do
do you
it.
think?
I don't know Hamas. By the way, I told you before, I'm not a big fan of Hamas. As a matter of fact, Hamas being an Islamic faction, I'm not a big fan of
What about
their
Hezbollah?
project. Same, I'm not a big fan of them either. But you should not punish a whole group of people, our population, because a militant group that is embedded within the population did some atrocities. Israel has the absolute ability to locate and kill people through their satellite, and they have... there is no excuse for blowing up empty universities or mosques or churches or destroying 90% of the infrastructure of a place. No matter what they did, because the people who did it, they're horrible, they are zombies, they're crazy, they're terrorists. You should not punish a whole people. That's collective.
And if you had enough rubbish from Piers' mouth, here's some more to listen to. According to Piers, the Israelis are not committing any mass executions in Gaza because after 1 year, there's still so many people alive there. Can this man be any more unfair? Let's check how Bassem handled this remark of Piers.
Given that Hamas said we're going to keep doing this to you, what should Israel have done?
So let's nuke Gaza, right? I mean, that's like...
They haven't nuked Gaza.
They
could have done.
They have dropped
They
bombs.
could have done.
Yeah,
my argument to those who say it's genocide is, if they'd wanted to, Israel has the ability to blow up the whole of Gaza now. They haven't done that.
So...
If you really are genocidal, why wouldn't you do that?
If people are still around, it's not a genocide. If monkeys are still alive, how there's no...
Well, you have 2 million people residing in Gaza, of which over 42,000 have been killed.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Is that genocide after a year?
So what's the threshold?
Well, it's not. My point is that if you're waging genocide, Israel has the capability to kill all 2 million people very quickly.
How about too much killing? Is that good?
I think there has been too much killing.
When Piers realized that Bassem was exposing his sold-out side in front of the entire world, he then started to put those questions to Youssef, in which he himself cannot be trapped or exposed, like how the situation in the Middle East be resolved. To this question, Youssef gave the simplest answer that all those politicians and world leaders have been unable to understand over the course of 76 years. He replied that when one side is extremely powerful and the other side is extremely weak as compared to the first, how do you expect to end the conflict? Indirectly, he criticized the full support system of the United States, the United Kingdom, and media outlets and personalities such as Piers Morgan himself, all of those who not only give Israel the green light to execute all Palestinians, but also provide them with military and financial aid to do so. He also said that ending the continuous brutal assault on Gaza is just a phone call away from the US, as they could simply command Israel on the phone to stop the bloodshed, but they refused to do so.
What's the solution?
Solution?
Yeah, genuinely.
I mean, I'm not a political analyst, but again, and I'm sorry being one-sided, but there is one side who has all the power, all the money, all of the weapons. They have been controlling the political spectrum. This is how many people in the Congress.
So how do we get to a solution? Do you believe in the idea of do you believe in a two-state solution, for example?
I don't know. I mean, it's not up to me.
Could it work? Could you have a Palestinian state
the way it's
side
done?
by side with Israel?
How would it work when Israel is taking all of the West Bank and making cutting
Well, that's
it
what I'm
into
asking you.
smaller Gaza?
How could it work?
Again, I told you a quote from a book by Obama, and I'm telling it again. The problem with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is that one side of them is very powerful and the other side is very weak.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, do we expect the Palestinians to sit down as well-behaved victims while they're being killed? Well, they should be slaughtered while not making noise. That's impossible.
But who should bring Palestine out of this?
I don't know, because all of the Nelson Mandelas are either killed or in jail.
Should it be other Arab countries?
I don't know.
Some people talk about a coalition of UAE or Saudi.
I don't have a solution. I don't have a solution, Piers.
Really? Have you not thought about this?
I'm not having to, because the solution is very difficult and complicated when Israel is doing what it's doing and having all of the support of the Western media and the Western government.
What should America be doing?
Get off the phone and said stop. As easy as it is. But they don't. It's terrible.
Why haven't they done that, do you think?
When did they ever do it?
Bassem Youssef finally exposed the hypocrisy of America too, by saying that it doesn't matter what political party one is going to vote for, because all the politicians of America shows their unwavering support to Israel, and they have demonstrated it multiple times, one of them being welcoming Netanyahu in America like a rock star on his recent visit.
I came to America, I was so happy to vote in the United States, and I was like one of those people, blue no matter who. But then I see the Republicans and the Democrats, they fight tooth and nails about everything. They fight on healthcare, about abortion, about guns. And then when it comes to Israel, it's like, who's better serving Israel? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, when Netanyahu went in Congress, he was received like a rock star.
Bassem Youssef had earlier stated in an interview that Piers Morgan only cares about clicks and views on his channel. And this is the reason why he invites both Palestinian and Israeli voices to debate each other. It seems Bassem was absolutely true, because Piers has been exposed many times by other pro-Palestinian individuals like Muhammad Hijab, Bassem Zumlat, Loki, Andrew Tate, and so many others. But Piers still is unable to just stop his biasness for Israel and care a bit for the Palestinians. May Allah provide justice to the Palestinians. Ameen.